Greetings. Welcome to Dr. English's Book Lovers Book Club. I'm Dr. English and I teach English. This week I'm going to review the book called The Secret Astronomers. And it is by Jessica Walker, and it's a novel and notes. And I absolutely fell in love with this book because I love graphic novels, and this kind of reminds me of a graphic novel in some ways, but then again it's not. But so it's notes. Like one person is like writing on a piece of paper, and she's actually typing it into a book on astronomy because she's lost her mother. Her mother has died, and she goes back to West Virginia, where her mother grew up, and is going to the school where high school where her mother went to high school, and her father is in San Francisco. So she's lived on the West Coast most of her life, and she's coming back to live with her grandparents. And so she finds probably the oldest book in the library, and she starts leaving notes and other artwork in it. The artwork in here is just incredible. I absolutely love that. So I love art. So, but I'll just show you a couple things that I just think are really cool. Like this is like, she's got like, how did you survive this place? Like, so she's, first it all starts out like she's, writing notes to her mom, like trying to make sense of, that. This is just really wonderfully well done. I really like it a lot. And then we have this. You have a football player, and you got, stuff from a place in San Francisco. And then there's a thing where she's, just this just really, really wonderfully done. The book is on astronomy. And then I'll read her, she's just at the beginning of the school year, and I'm going to read a note here on September 12th of 2016. The most exciting thing to report about today's adventure is that there was a fight between two boys at lunch. One of them had on a shirt with a quote from the Bible on it. If only he had looked down at his shirt for some advice when he started to feel that pit of rage bubbling up and erupting into violence. Do you think people need to advertise their Christianity on their clothes so they don't forget what they believe? Really, what would Jesus do? I don't think he beat the shit out of another guy on the lunch line. And note to self, pack lunch. There are no vegetarian options in the Pocahontas County school system. So she's going to a school at, I think it's called Green Bank, West Virginia. And the reason why I decided to read this first is because on the very next day, in the book, there are 2 sticky notes left. And this person writes, "Hey, would you please stop destroying this book? I know these pages are as old as Methuselah, but it's one of the only astronomy textbooks in our library, and I need to reference it for my college application essay. You could ask the art teacher about getting some paper for your drawings, which are pretty awesome, but honestly, I don't really know much about art. Thank you kindly." Then she responds, "Okay, you caught me. I thought someone probably would, just not so soon, since this book doesn't seem to be in high demand. The last time it was checked out appears to have been back in 1988. Why in the world do you need to reference an astronomy textbook that's over 100 years old for your college application essay? Are you like a reincarnated galaxy or something? Seems super odd. I don't want to stand in the way of your college application dreams, whoever you are, but I'm going to keep making my pretty awesome drawings in this book. Thank you kindly, and enjoy applying to college so you can spend your parents' life savings getting a mediocre higher education at some football school." Who the hell is Methuselah? So thus begins this relationship via this book, and they decide to call themselves the Secret Astronomers, and they make a pact that they won't tell each other who each other. They don't give names ever, and so it's really a really fascinating way to write a book, I think, and I love that they have this, and they're not really like kind to each other, like the girl from San Francisco, keeps, bashing this West Virginia, and the girl who's from West Virginia, who's trying very hard to get into college, because not unlike the girl's mother, she's trying to get out of this place. She wants to go on and be a physicist, I think, is, if I remember right. And so she's, really wanting to leave the place, but also defending the place to the person who's come there to find out more about her mom. And so what the two of them do is they continue to like find clues in this book so they can find out, you know, she can find out a little bit more about her mom. And so I would say probably not quite halfway through the book, I figured out something about the two people, and I thought, oh, this has got to be it. I know it's how the writer's gonna make this end. And I have to say I was right about that, but no spoilers. I'm going to tell you. I think, you know, a sophisticated reader will figure it out really quickly of what I'm referring to, because I knew it had to be. I was like, this is how it's going to end. I know it is, and it did. And so, not that I would pat myself on the back, but I love a good book that's somewhat of a mystery. But I also just love the way they do it, because the other person keeps putting in the post-it notes, and there are different colors of post-it notes, and the 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 person who's opened the book and started doing research is leaving just like taped in notes and taped in drawings and drawing on the in the actual book, and it's driving the other girl crazy because of course she can't read it very well. But they do both actually discover something they didn't know. But I think the tension that's there, I found that really interesting, but also just that they decided they didn't want to reveal who they were. But in the back of my mind, there's also me as the skeptical reader, because I grew up in a small town of 480 people. And it's like, it's not too hard to figure out who people are. I mean, that's the part was a little bit, I had to suspend my disbelief just a little bit, because it's like, there's no way they didn't know who each other was. That's just not possible. But it's like a school in West Tennessee, and like a lot of schools in rural areas, they consolidate. And so there are people coming from lots of places. So then they have these big schools in the middle of nowhere. And so it's possible they didn't know each other and didn't know much about what's going on. But, that's not realistic. Even if you have a consolidated school, most people know each other. So I would find that hard to believe they wouldn't know who it is. But because they give, they're talking about their families, and I'm just like, surely, they don't give names to their family members, but it doesn't take too long to figure out just by hints that they are talking to each other and the notes they leave, they would figure it out in a small town. So that part, you have to suspend your disbelief just a little bit. If you're, an urban dweller, you'll just kind of just say, well, that's possible. But yeah, but if you've gone to an urban school that has 1,200 students or 1,500 students, yeah, of course you're not going to figure out who it is. But small town, it seemed that was a little sketchy to me. So, but anyway, I still love how the narrator, or the main narrator's mother, left these little hints, and they are they're trying to figure it out together. And so the back and forth, helps, her find out something about her mom that she wanted to know about her, because she was like 12 or 13 when her mother died. And so, and she was, and her mother was like incredibly smart. And and that's the other thing I think is really, something that people need to hear, is that people in rural areas are really smart. So it's not just the suburbs and the urban areas where people are very, very intelligent live. And so, but it's sad because a lot of them do leave. They don't stay in that place because of their gifts and talents. They go on to bigger places because the world has need of them. So, and their expertise and their brilliance. So, I definitely would teach this book if I had a chance. I would teach it. Definitely would use this as, this is from 2025. I went in and Googled, like, what are the top best YA novels for 25, 26. And so I've got like, a list of 10 new books I want to get through and share, but also I should also share with my colleagues, that from my university, so that they can update their list for the young adult fiction class or young adult literature class. Because I thought, oh, you got to put these on the list so people can have them as a choice to read them. So I highly recommend this, but I definitely would do this as a book club. I definitely have it on my shelf. I got this from my local library, and I have to take it back, but I just don't have the space to keep a lot of books now, which breaks my heart. But it's kind of nice to know I can go to my local library and get a book and take it back. And sometimes I go to thrift books and I buy books on the that are really reduced, and then I just take them to the library and donate them. Or this fall I'm going to hang on to some and offer them to fifth graders, because some of these books are books that fifth graders could read. So there's nothing really what I would consider questionable in here in this book at all. There might be a few, maybe I don't even remember if there were any, there's any profanity. I don't think there is. So I definitely recommend it. If you can teach it, that would be fun. If you have a creative writing class, I would say this could be a good, model text, anchor text. But definitely do it as a book club or a novel panel, something along that line. I think students would really eat it up. They'd really like it. So I highly recommend it. If you're not teaching it, great. But I highly recommend it. Keep it on your shelf in your teacher's, library, and encourage kids to read it. I think it's a great read, and it's a quick read. It doesn't take long to read it. So thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.